Hi everyone, welcome back to another scrapbook layout video and thank you for joining me again today. So welcome also to Sketch 18 for the 6x6 sketch class by Allison Davis. This one I had found photos for that I thought would be perfect because they are all horizontal photos, and so I wanted to use them. I struggled with what paper to use. So I decided, I kind of looked in my use it up section, but I really kind of wanted to use something with 6x6 paper. And so then I looked in my mind's eye little section, which I only have, I think, like 4 collections in that section. And I found this and I thought this was very fun and bright. I'm kind of muted, but you know what I mean by bright, fun. The pictures that I'm scrapbooking are of my kids and a couple of my nieces and nephews on the slide all going down. I've had these pictures for a few years, which reminds, yes, I did add the date. I was just going to say, I'm not sure if I added the date, but they all went down the slide at the same time. So they're very fun pictures. I thought about pulling out a summer type collection, but I don't, offhand, I can't recall, other than a doodlebug collection, I can't really recall a collection that I have with 6x6 pads. Although now that I think about it, I bet you anything I could have found some doodlebug paper that would have worked fine. But anyways, this just kind of helps me use up this collection a little bit. I'm not that 100% crazy about this collection, but I like it. I like it enough to keep it. It's just one that I've, obviously had for years. This is like cut and paste. And my mind's eye, they used to have like one collection called cut and paste and then like 4 different offset collections from that one cut and paste. So I don't know. I think this is a combination of a couple of them. But for the most part, I tried looking at the different 6x6 papers that you saw there and tried lining them up. I didn't want to use just 4 papers and have the same pattern repeat on the double page. If you have this sketch, you will know what I am talking about. But I didn't want it to really repeat. And I'm also trying to get that red paper to work, the one with the kind of diagonal zigzags on it that's up in the left-hand screen, because it goes really well because I think one of my sons is wearing a red shirt in the picture. So, and then I noticed when I was cutting some of these down, I don't know if they got pulled from the pad weird or what, but they weren't exactly always a full 3 inches on one side. And some of them were, it almost looked like they were cut out of the 6x6 pad because it was crooked, but it wasn't torn. So I don't know. I also really liked this cloud paper. I thought it would go really good with the theme of the pictures, but I don't think I end up using it just because the light blue was just too light for everything else. So what I did here was I cut a banner. So I just kind of gently folded it in half and I cut from the inside to the ends, and that makes a banner shape. And I wanted all my banners to be the same length. I do have that banner punch by Stampin' Up, but it doesn't, I mean, there's like a trick I'm sure you could do. I think I've seen people do a trick where you can cut papers that are 3 inches long, but I didn't want to do that trick and have like some of them better than the others. So the easiest way for me to get them even was to put, just cut a banner edge of one and then take that banner cut one and cut the rest from it. It took a couple minutes. I tried cutting multiple of the squares at once, and that just kind of messed it up a little more, so I didn't do that. And I think I could cut 2 at once, and that was fine, but anyways. I did also ink all my edges with my black close to my heart ink. So a couple things that I will say I didn't pay enough attention to. I did change my photos a little bit. I changed the left-hand side of the layout has 3 photos on hers that are 2 that are 3x4 and 1 that is 4x6. Mine, I had 3 and I cut them all to, I believe, 4x4. So they still fit the full 12 inches, but it's not the same as hers. I wish that I would have paid attention to the photos before I put them down, because in reality, I the photos kind of don't really, like if I'm going to make a layout, I like the photos to tell the story from left to right. And in this, the way that this one ends up, I had already glued the photos down on the left-hand side that I wanted to go on the right-hand side, because those, you know, the ones on the right-hand side are them at the top of the slide, where the ones at the left-hand side are on the bottom of the slide. So in all reality, I do wish that I would have switched them. And after I glue the photos on, oh, one thing too, really quick, you might have seen me just put the ATG down. And then what I did was go back with my little glue pin here and just added a dab of the glue underneath the corners, just to make sure that those stay stuck down. Only took like an extra second, and it was easier than trying to add ink to each one of those individual triangles. So after what I was saying is, after you can see here, I've thought about it, I lined it up, although now it doesn't even, I think I did it, nope, I don't know. I'm getting a little mixed up here because that's not how I originally had it. So I'm wondering if I originally had it the way that I wanted it in the end, but didn't think that I had it. So I thought that I did it wrong. So we'll just have to see together, I guess. But when I put those patterns along the top, you know, I made them so that they would look pleasing to the eye. I didn't have, you know, stripes next to stripes, like those red zigzags next to the yellow stripes. And I had the multicolored arrow ones, you know, mixed in. And so it wasn't an exact pattern. And then I had that dark blue, so it stuck out in some places more than others. But after I glued down the photos on the left-hand side, I did put it on the right. And I think you will see me do that in the video, just to see if I could make it, you know, work still with the way that they were, but it didn't look good. So that's one thing I would have paid a little bit more attention to. Where she has her striped strips, I used this 12 by 12 paper so that it wasn't a 6 by 6 piece, so that I wouldn't have to worry about any of the creases. And I had the paper, so why not? And this was just kind of more of a neutral instead of stripes, because all those other papers are so busy. I just chose that kind of neutral stripe one, and it's not even a stripe. It's kind of got like these triangle things, but it's such a small piece you don't really notice. So yeah, actually, now that I look at it, I do have the papers the way that I want it to. So now I'm putting down these photos. So like I said, I wish I would have added these photos to the right-hand side, but that's okay. I'm happy with the final layout, and nobody's going to look at it and be like, well, you know, those should have been on the other side. And if they do look at it and say that, I'll be like, oh, when did you become an expert, you know? But anyways, I'm just kidding. See, you could see me there. I was like, oh, darn it. Let me see if I liked it the other way, but I didn't like it the other way. I can't remember why. I think I liked the red being on the left, and it is what it is. So from one of the 6 by 6 pads, I did cut that 3 by 4 piece that is like a journaling block there. And that is where I'm going to do my journaling, and I'm going to end up putting my title there. My title, I'm not that crazy about, but when I do my clusters are going to end up being super simple. And I really like them that way because I feel like the banners and all the different patterns and papers fill up the page enough so that it's okay that I have simple clusters. And I am just going to do 2 clusters, one in the top left and one on the bottom right, just like she has. And one of the things I had that goes with this collection are these chipboard flowers. So I'm just picking out different ones, trying to keep the colors a little different from each other. You know, where they are on the left, they're landing on a light blue spot, and where they are on the right, they're landing on a dark blue spot. So I put the dark blue flower on the left and the light blue flower on the right. So that brings that color around even more. Another thing, I found these arrows. I'm going to use these 2 arrows, and usually I struggle with like the kind of bent arrows, but I love how I incorporate that into the clusters. And I'm just looking here, a lot of these stickers, I'm like, oh man, I don't think I'll ever use these stickers. They're just not my style. I'm sure somebody loves them, but I put this arrow down. I loved how it kind of pointed up into the layout. And now I'm just going to put these chipboard flowers down, and I'm kind of putting them down so that they tuck, the petals tuck into the petals of the one next to it and not touch. I made sure that they didn't touch. I didn't want them all touching. I felt like it needed something though, and so a lot of you know I have this little bowl of wood veneer that I'm using. This is my reminder to use up my wood veneer. I am on a goal to use it up, and you know, if I don't use absolutely every single piece, but I want to get a lot of my wood veneer used up. I'm just kind of done with wood veneer. It's great. I love wood veneer, don't get me wrong, but I'm ready to at least have a smaller collection so it takes up maybe a less amount of space in my room. So then I took this other arrow and I added it just pointing down, sort of like the other arrow. And at first I didn't think I was going to like it, but I'm really happy with the way it looked. So I did add that camera, by the way, the wood veneer camera into the cluster on the right hand side. And so I'm doing the same thing here with these flowers. I'm just tucking them in so you can see that the petals kind of line up with each other. And I'm going to look for another camera. I'm not real happy with the camera I found. The one that matches the one on the right the most is that one that's there, but it's way too big for this cluster over here. It just wouldn't have fit. So I chose this small one. And I'm going to pop it up. I don't know if you noticed with the other camera, because I have it slightly going over one of the flowers. I do add a little bit of foam tape behind part of it and glue the other part down with just gluing it down because it will be on the flower. Sorry, I got a little distracted there, but so for this camera, it has the big hole, and I didn't have any enamel dots, and I was just kind of being lazy. I wanted to get this layout done because I know I want to kind of get this series done. I'm enjoying this series, but I'm ready to have a little break from it. And this was right before, I think I did this one also. No, I must have done this after my last series, my Spend Less, Scrap More. So I didn't want to fall too behind because I know this is week 18. I don't even know what week the group is on, to be honest. So anyways, I added a little piece of red paper behind that camera is what I was going to say, and I don't really care for the way it looks, but it is what it is. The other thing I wish I wouldn't have done with this layout, but it's okay, is I took the little tong things off of the brads because I wanted to put them on the center of a couple of the flowers, and I didn't want to have to punch a big hole, which actually I probably could have with my crocodile because that punches through, but I guess I was thinking it'd be hard to reach, and so I wish I wouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. So they're on there and they look good. And then I just use a little foam tape because they were such really dimensional brads. So that is pretty much my layout. Like I said, it went really fast. You can see how the brads look there in that camera. The other thing I did do was add a faux black stitching line underneath both those stripe strips, and that is my layout. So thank you guys so much for watching. You can see I also just added my title on that. I'm not really crazy about the title, but it is